Hi guys, it's Nakti. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be diving into the astrological secrets of the evil eye, major fame, envy, jealous friends, and psychosexual obsession. This is a nakshatra at the crucial stage of utmost contention, of both self-defense and attack, of all the challenges one faces as they climb to the pinnacle of personal radiance and individuation, material power, and immense influence.
Wait, why? My class is why then?
Jyeshtha nakshatra. This euphoria scene starring Jyeshtha's son Alexademi quickly encapsulates much of the common Jyeshtha plot that I'm going to be uncovering today.
You're dressed exactly like me!
One euphoria viewer tweeted, "Cassie really was single white femaling Maddie," referring to the iconic film starring Jyeshtha ascendant Bridget Fonda.
You gotta be kidding.
In the Jyeshtha storyline, shown in other films like Eileen, The Talented Mr. Ripley,
I wish you'd get out of my clothes. Do you have my shoes on too?
Breathe, Chloe, and many more. First, the Jyeshtha encounters a new same-sex friend or acquaintance.
I'm Rebecca.
I know.
The friend immediately shows signs of finding the Jyeshtha native alluring, fascinating, and enviable.
Did you drop this on purpose? I wanted to talk to you.
I thought she was like a goddess of some kind. Like Lady Di before she dumped the prince and went nudist and everything.
The Jyeshtha native draws the person in, is typically warm and welcoming, and for this reason their bond grows quickly.
When you have his attention, you feel like you're the only person in the world. That's why everybody loves him.
However, the new acquaintance begins to develop an increasingly extreme obsession with him or her.
He smelled the talcum and lilacs on Jesse's pillowcase.
In stage 1 of this obsession, they start by mimicking the Jyeshtha's clothing and style,
She is dressing exactly like me. Am I the only one who's completely creeped out by this?
their way of speaking, their hair,
This feels so good on my neck. I didn't think you'd mind.
You've done something to your hair. In fact, the only thing that looks like Dickie is you.
Andy, you dyed your hair.
Oh my god, what is this hair? What is this supposed to mean?
their scent,
You're in her clothes, you're wearing her perfume, for Christ's sake.
or other mannerisms or quirks of their identity.
Sandy, can I get a martini and some matches?
His fingers skittered over his ribs to construe the scars where Jesse was twice shot. He manufactured a middle finger that was missing the top 2 knuckles.
They make moves to essentially become the Jyeshtha's twin.
I love myself like this. Have fun!
If Jesse palavered with another person, Bob secretaried their dialogue, getting each inflection, reading every gesture and tick, as if he wanted to compose a biography of the outlaw, or as if he were preparing an impersonation.
In fact, in both Birds of Paradise and Single White Female, the obsessor lost their twin and seeks to replace that hole in their life and identity forcefully with a Jyeshtha native who has fixated them.
Repeat after me. This is our sacred oath.
This is our sacred oath.
To always be there for each other.
To always be there for each other.
To help each other out every step of the way.
To help each other out every step of the way.
This twin attempt sets the stage of Jyeshtha's cosmic level. Jyeshtha is presided over by the king of the gods Indra. It is a Gand Mul, not End nakshatra at the challenge presented at the end of stage 2, that which relates to civilization. In Jyeshtha, one is grappling to achieve the height and pinnacle of material power as they seek to become transcendent over others and move into the 3rd stage. The 3rd stage is that of apotheosis, just as I've explored Mula, heavily involving attaining demigod status. Jyeshtha Moon Friedrich Nietzsche popularized such a concept in his work on the Übermensch, the Superman, who surpasses and transcends man. Jyeshtha is unquestionably a materially powerful nakshatra. Jyeshtha's name means preeminent, highest, or eldest,
All men are equal in God's eyes. Are they?
denoting its general superiority and ability to win at the game of life.
I mean, you won. You want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies. That's all.
In all 3 of my surveys on the topics of extreme fame, extreme wealth, and high intelligence, for moon placement, Jyeshtha arose as top. This makes sense according to Brihat Samhita, where it's written that to Jyeshtha belongs those who are endowed with wealth and fame.
Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ."
And those intent on conquest. Inevitably, as more attention is drawn towards us and our success increases, so do our enemies. Despite being a successful placement, Jyeshtha is considered a difficult and inauspicious birth nakshatra due to its strong links to contention.
Why'd you do that thing with your neck?
What thing?
Eyes on the road.
Possessing this nakshatra shows a dire need to compete and battle in this incarnation, to establish and then continuously defend one's heightened position.
Is that you?
Because we don't need you anymore.
We have Annie now.
Its traditional basis above is attack, and its basis below is defense. Being king is rarely comfortable or safe. Indra's position, even in myth, was never stable or truly secure. I quote, "He experienced cycles of victory, defense, defeat, and subsequent reclaiming of heaven." So what exactly is this twin attempt? I've explored before how our rivals in life tend to share our signs. Those who share your nakshatra are fixated on the same realm, standing from the same perspective, connected to the same divine source. Successful examples of a nakshatra tend to scramble to hold the top position in the realm or field of their nakshatra, even in cases when they didn't live at the same time. They battle posthumously through the collective mind and its recognition, where their names almost become synonymous with one another. So as astrological examples objectively and undoubtedly show, while love, union, and sex is fueled by polarity through opposition and divine differences, rivalry is emphasized by uncomfortable similarity. Similarity is the required foundation for competitiveness.
Even though we were very adversarial when we were younger, because we were competitive, became something we realized we're incredibly alike, cut from the same cloth.
Jyeshtha is ultimately the nakshatra at the core of this overarching idea for all people, the stage we all travel through if we rise in success, of becoming successful through distinguishing oneself from rivals of any kind, overcoming one's cosmic siblings. This includes all rivals, both normal cosmic twins who share signs with us.
He pushed me and I pushed him as well. We shared this stage 15 years, me and him. The same two guys in the same stage all the time. I'm there and of course he's there as well.
Who also tap into channeling the energies genuinely, as well as the idea of a more mentally unwell or undeveloped person who attempts to artificially morph themselves into one's twin.
Marge, you like everybody. Marge, you like everybody.
I love myself like this.
Who so far from their own individuality that much of the time they don't even share any placements with the one that they become fixated on.
Your hair looks so cute like that. You like it? Yeah, I kind of copied what you did yesterday.
Look, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I really think that you should stop copying other people and forge your own path.
The Mahavidya goddess Dhumavati is also called Jyeshtha or Lakshmi. Dhumavati, the lonesome widow, dwells in solitude. Brihat Samhita describes Jyeshtha natives as Na Bahumitra, not having many friends. This comes after shifting from Anurata, the nakshatra of Mitra, the guardian of friendships. The Godfather 2 ends with a key allegorical flashback scene, symbolizing how, as Jyeshtha Moon Al Pacino would later rise in success, he would become ever more isolated and lonely. Dhumavati rules over Vidveshana karma, separation magic, and has the power of uniqueness. Separation magic is traditionally recommended to be performed in Shatabisha, which represents the many eyes of the collective. To be king, to establish superiority and become distinguished, unique, distinct, and on top, Jyeshtha asserts separation and division from the masses. So when these encroaching individuals are attracted to the Jyeshtha's cultivated light and uniqueness, they try to merge into them by removing differences.
I think that you should try to create some space between us. Space? What do you mean? You know, space. Like the distance between here and Pluto?
Spooky. Spooky.
Which innately makes them more of an enemy or rival. Back to the progression of events in Jyeshtha films, this is also the stage of Jyeshtha's arc where a psychosexual component ramps up. At first, the intensity of their feelings of deep obsession for the person often turns things sexual.
Cold, can I get in?
Their first reaction to the Jyeshtha's energy is to become deeply possessive of it.
No.
And to want to truly merge and dissolve into it.
Thought it would make me jealous.
Were you?
At first, and then I realized it wasn't because you were with Felipe, but because Felipe was with you.
The The consistent homoerotic pattern to these films also relates to establishing this idea that with more similarity, there's more potential rivalry. Competition naturally lessens when differences are present, and the foundational difference of gender tends to be one that diffuses obsessive rivalry between two people to a large extent.
Say I'm better than Needy.
What? Why?
For that reason, this confusing situation of feeling both sexual desire for someone as well as desire to become that person can reach especially heightened intensity when the gender identity is the same. In general, jyeshtha is extremely commonly found in any films that include intense same-sex relationships which blur the lines between platonic and sexual or romantic.
Fuck is happening? Oh my god, Needy.
Relax, you're like a stick.
I can't do this.
No, I gotta sit down.
This is making me feel all funny.
I'll explore these films more as I go, but in all of them the relationship is outwardly and technically just a friendship, but the intensity of emotions from one or both parties, especially of possessiveness.
I've been waiting since 6 o'clock last night to hear from you.
Sorry, I guess I just didn't think. No, you didn't. And there's such a thing as a phone, you know?
Starts to bring in a strong sexual component.
You're totally lesbian gay.
What? She's my best friend.
Next in the stories, this possessive fixation causes the obsessor to constantly cling to or excessively contact the jyeshtha.
Better still, if I got a place in Rome, and then when we're there, we could be there, and then when we're here, we could be here.
I don't think so.
And these just came for you. And there's an urgent email as well.
This excessive clinginess starts to alert the jyeshtha to the danger building in the relationship.
I'm in your waiting room. Didn't you see me when you came in?
And they begin to try to distance from them and push the obsessor away.
Scrambled or fried?
When the obsessor's possessive pleas are ignored and they realize they may not be able to own the jyeshtha or become completely intertwined with them like they desire.
You love me, you're not marrying me.
Tom, I don't love you.
No, I don't mean that as a threat.
To be honest, I'm a little relieved you're going.
Stop dressing like me, stop doing your hair like me, and stop talking like me. Sorry I bothered you.
Go away.
My life is none of your business, Polly, and you had no right to spy on me.
Tori, everything you do is my business. You are my business, and I am yours.
If I ever catch you spying on me again,
What?
just don't.
I think we've seen enough of each other for a while.
This sexual or love outlet for the obsession becomes challenged or blocked, and so mutates into something even more sinister.
You can be a leech. You know that.
Well, I don't expect you to understand our friendship.
I can stand you, for Christ's sake. You're too needy, you're always clingy, you're constantly in her face. She hates you. She's too nice to tell you.
She loves me.
Stop talking shit, Polly.
We're best friends.
You had this crazy fixation about me, and you were getting some kind of perverted kick out of the whole idea, like people with your sexual problems tend to do.
Wait a minute!
Wait
a
for what?
minute! I thought we were friends!
They start to invade in on the jyeshtha's life in even deeper ways. They make moves to divide the jyeshtha from their social position and loved ones.
Mozart is not entirely to be trusted alone with young ladies.
Really?
Driving away their other bonds to friends, lovers, or family members.
Needy and Colin were intimate.
With the goal of becoming the only remaining person in the jyeshtha's life.
See, particularly with the Marge problem.
Marge and I are getting married.
In many cases, at the same time or alternatively, they seek to replace the jyeshtha's position socially.
Miranda! Wait! Some of our friends are going to the mall. They may need me later.
To steal their friends from them completely, to take their love interest.
You can't be faithful. And now she'll know.
Needy didn't deserve a boy like you.
Or to gain the favor of their family members to have a stronger, constant presence in the jyeshtha's private life.
I felt you in him, his eyes, and the tiny little things that he does.
What is Andy doing here in my house, talking to my mom?
In the same way, in Breathe, jyeshtha ascendant Josephine Jappi plays a young woman, Charlie, who gets into a tumultuous, close female friendship with a girl named Sarah. Sarah's subtle possessiveness and jealousy over Charlie causes her to attempt to seduce any man that Charlie shows attention to.
J'ai proposé à Sarah de faire un tour d'avion. Tu veux ou...
Non, ça va. Non, elle a pas envie. On y va?
Ok.
Or steal any friends that Charlie has.
We made our own little world together, and you didn't say no to anything about me, and you made me fall in love with you.
No, I didn't mean for that to happen.
Stage 3 is where things ramp up to their extreme and most often become in some way violent.
I won't let anyone come
between us anymore. I won't let anyone come between us anymore.
This can happen in various ways. The obsessor sometimes kills the jyeshtha's friends or loved ones, now taking more extreme measures to ensure that they're the main person in his or her life. In high tension, jyeshtha ascendant Mei Wen is violently victim to the underlying hidden sexual obsession of her female friend. Her obsessed friend first kills the jyeshtha's entire family before Mei Wen's character ultimately kills her.
Nobody will come between us ever. Never again.
Give her up! Polly! Say it! Say, I give her up!
Go fuck yourself.
Polly, no! Fucking psycho! No! Fucking bitch! Polly! She got this!
Even Jennifer's Body, starring Jyeshtha's son Amanda Seyfried, brings in jyeshtha themes in regards to the intense mutual psychosexual bond. It follows two female friends whose focus is always on one another. Megan Fox has shared that she played Jennifer as a deeply closeted lesbian, obsessed with and completely possessive of Needy. She displays this through withholding her violence from Needy, but killing any man who shows interest in her, such as Colin, who has Needy's approval and attention.
Well, I think he's really cool.
You do?
Yeah.
And Chip, Needy's boyfriend.
You were never a good friend. Even when we were little, you used to steal my toys and pour lemonade on my bed, and now I'm eating your boyfriend.
The obsessor sometimes kills themselves when they can't obtain enough closeness with the jyeshtha. In Lost and Delirious, jyeshtha native Jessica Paré churns such intense love from her friend-turned-girlfriend Polly that when she pulls away and breaks up with her, Polly first spends weeks in an obsessed frenzy.
She is mine, and I am hers, and neither of us are worthy!
And this ultimately ends with Polly's suicide.
I will make me a willow cabin at your gate and call upon my soul within the house.
I will write loyal cantons of condemned love and sing them loud even in the dead of night. I will hallow your name to the reverberate hills and make the babbling gossip of the air cry out, Victoria!
I can't move without you moving. Gives me the creeps. You give me the creeps. Can't move without dicky, like a little girl.
At other times, the jyeshtha is themselves killed by the one who so desperately needed only to either be with or become them, and chooses the latter when they are rejected romantically. The final step in the false twins' attempt to occupy their seat or space in reality, to crawl into their identity, is to remove them completely from it and eliminate them.
Good night, Miss Jones.
Good night.
Signor Greenleaf, yes?
No,
The film Amadeus is a true treatise on jealousy, with the jyeshtha moon Amadeus Mozart as the historical muse of the fictional Rivalry, who is portrayed in the film by the jyeshtha sun and moon native Tom Hulce.
I admit I was jealous.
The entire film focuses on Mozart and his musical talent as the subject of the intense destructive envy of a fellow composer, Salieri.
My heart was filling up with such hatred for that little man. For the first time in my life, I began to know really violent thoughts.
Who he mistakenly trusts as a friend and advisor along the way.
My plan was so simple. First, I must get the death mass, and then I must achieve his death.
Eventually, Salieri purposefully causes Mozart's death and later attempts to kill himself due to his guilt about killing his own idol.
His inability to express what he now believed was the case. That he truly regretted killing Jesse. That he missed the man as much as anybody.
In other endings, the jyeshtha ultimately kills their obsessive tormentor in some form of physical or emotional self-defense.
That's it forever, huh? You killed my fucking boyfriend! You goddamn monster! You dumb bitch! Get your man!
The Godfather 2 is always cited as a major film example of betrayal through jealousy.
I'm your older brother, Mike, and I was stepped over.
That's the way Pop wanted it.
It ain't the way I wanted it.
Michael Corleone, portrayed by Jyeshta Moon Al Pacino, eventually assassinates his own envious brother Fredo after Fredo's betrayal almost leads to Michael's death. One potent visual unites many of these film endings, the final kiss. The Jyeshta is bloodied and held captive in some manner.
You're beautiful. You must know that.
In a last attempt to save their own life, they kiss their captor in hopes of disarming them by recreating that illusion of romantic interest.
Don't make me leave you, Will.
The interplay of violence, obsession, and sexuality in these scenes vividly captures the intense dynamics often associated with Jyeshta-themed relationships.
I want you to kiss me.
The lesson of these Jyeshta films is, of course, on the true dangers of generating attention, obsession, and causing conscious or unconscious envy, as the firmness and radiance of one's individuality pulls on the fixation of those who are unstable and unfulfilled.
You're in a different league. I know that. You have this great personality. You've got this great style. You're running your own business.
Wow, Lizzie. I'll never be like you. You're so together, and I'm so not.
This arc is summarized quite succinctly in the latest American Horror Story season, where Jyeshta ascendant Emma Roberts plays a young starlet, Anna, who attracts an obsessed stalker who both wants to be and to be with Anna.
Then you were there. So close. I felt our connection.
When we generate a lot of attention or admiration, the evil eye in our life turns to immense extremes.
Your life just seemed so perfect. And I wanted it for myself. I looked for ways to take it all away.
No nakshatra deals with the reality of the evil eye as heavily as Jyeshta, which is itself symbolized by the protective talisman. Whereas jealousy is when we desire what another has, envy is when we wish to not only have what someone has, but also to see that person lose what they have. Therefore, envy is stronger the more limited the desired resource is. When your individualism and uniqueness is the resource, it's completely limited and meant to be occupied by only one, so envy becomes very dangerous.
I couldn't let you be happy.
You're a fucking psychopath.
At this stage, one has tapped into their life force, the power of their libido, and removed inhibitions to it. After the challenge you've seen in my last video, which was undergone 2 nakshatras previously in Vishaka. This allows one the opportunity to churn power and obtain success. Now enemies and jealousy flood in as all of these attainments and rewards are crystallized and certified through Mercury, the nakshatra lord, the karaka of House 10, who grants our acclaim, fame, and pathways for wealth, who attracts the green-eyed monster.
I didn't mean it. Just the green monster of jealousy came out because you were Miss Popular and I thought I was losing my best friend, so I got angry and upset and hurt.
This ultimately drives Jyeshta's movement in life towards increasing solitude, as they collect lessons related mainly to betrayal through envy. Other than the famous betrayal in The Godfather 2,
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart. You broke my heart.
Al Pacino is commonly placed in roles where he experiences this. In both The Irishman and Donnie Brasco, he's betrayed by the person closest to him.
You're like family to me, Frank. You know.
A friend that he trusts the most.
Let's get out of here, Frank. Come on.
You think I'm a fucking rat?
How many times I have you into my own house?
Twice a week at least.
Hey, there it is. If ever I had any money, I'd give you. I never had any money, but if ever I had $100 in my pocket, I give you 50, right?
Yeah, you did.
If you're a rat, then I'm the biggest fucking mutt in the history of the mafia.
By his own approximation, Bob assassinated Jesse James over 800 times.
And that's how I killed Jesse James.
He suspected no one in history had ever so often or so publicly recapitulated an act of betrayal.
The movie The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, starring Brad Pitt with Jyeshta ascendant, is rich with these themes.
You were by far his most admired personage. He couldn't get enough. It was Jesse this, and Jesse that, and Jesse this, from sunrise to sunset. Fascinating. You know what size boot Jesse wears?
Charlie, Jesse don't want to hear this.
The famous outlaw meets a young man who is essentially an obsessed stalker who deeply wants to identify himself with Jesse.
If you'll pardon my saying so, I guess it is interesting the many ways you and I overlap and whatnot.
Root himself permanently into his life and family.
Bob thought he might never go. but might be brought in as a good-natured cousin to the boy and a gentleman helper to Z.
And subtly morph himself into him in behavior, reputation, and appearance.
He sipped from the water glass on the vanity.
Robert glorifies Jesse, and it's his intense obsession that throughout the film slowly decays into jealousy.
Can't figure it out. You want to be like me, or you want to be me?
Bob was sent away cordially the next day.
And finally devolves into the ultimate betrayal.
I've been a nobody all my life. And ever since I can remember it, Jesse James has been as big as a tree.
Roger Ebert noted the, I quote, curiously erotic dance of death between James and the mesmerized younger Ford. Finally, he wrote, if Robert cannot be the lover of his hero, what would be more intimate than to kill him? Intuiting or slightly projecting these underlying jyeshtha themes, which mingle conflicting, intense, and extreme emotions together: obsession, desire, envy, and aggression. So the film, like many of these works, explores how the essence of jyeshtha's struggle is to individuate. Because individuation is so crucial for them and they are at a cosmic testing stage, attempts to overthrow them, betray them, or steal their identity completely are emphasized. The close bond with someone who's a friend, fan, or lover, but also enemy.
But even as he jested, or tickled his boy in the ribs, Jesse would look over at Bob with melancholy eyes, as if the two were meshed in an intimate communication.
Encapsulates this concept of the necessity of overcoming rivals and individuating for jyeshtha's cosmic stage to be surpassed. Jyeshtha ultimately attempts to climb and secure its one-seated throne of individuality and purpose, and finds another person or people attempting to crawl into the seat, both through mimicking them as well as doing things to try to knock them from their position. The film, being John Malkovich, starring Jyeshtha's son John Malkovich, shows this takeover quite literally. A famous rich man is invaded by hordes of average people who find a magical portal to launch into his body and live through him, enjoying the benefits of the success that he's cultivated.
What is this strange power that Malkovich exudes? You've got to help me understand, because all I think about is wanting to be him.
Wanting to what?
Wanting to be him. Wanting to be John Malkovich. I never wanted you to know. I really like you. I wish I were you.
One of the portal's most intensely obsessed users, Craig, eventually takes over John Malkovich's life completely through learning to animate him. Jyeshtha films fundamentally emphasize the importance of boundaries and solitude for those who are unique and successful, or who are attempting to be successful, warning about the dangers that come for the energetically powerful when they are open to obsessive and jealous people they truly can't trust.
Through my influence, I saw to it Don Giovanni was played only 5 times in Vienna. But in secret, I went to every one of those 5, worshipping sound.
This nakshatra, which is highly related to the public life.
Dad, please don't be jealous of me. I'm not doing all this. I do not enjoy doing all this.
Teaches the importance for the radiant and ambitious of cultivating protective, defensive division and privacy.
Hi, Lizzie. You're my role model.
So seeing the strange pull that jyeshtha natives have on those with low individuality, as these films repeatedly channel.
Don't you touch me! Don't you touch me, I said! She was my friend. She was my only real friend.
Naturally facilitates a deeper understanding of why jyeshtha is so prominent for fame. In my survey of 355 individuals who have reached levels of massive fame, as I mentioned, jyeshtha was the top placement for Moon, and jyeshtha was also the highest primary placement overall when combining Sun, Moon, and Ascendant together. On my Patreon, I've posted a deeper analysis of this entire survey with all the graphs of the house placements, rashis, and nakshatras, and there I reveal and explore the #1 most important statistical factor for fame in general, which was actually Venus in a certain nakshatra. So check out my Patreon for that, as well as a ton of other extra content.
Last week I mentioned he'd been going around telling people he's more popular than Taylor Swift. Over the weekend, he wrote, for so many years, people have been saying that Elvis and I look alike.
If you watch films like The Irishman, Donnie Brasco, Amadeus, and the assassination of Jesse James,
he had spurned his younger brother for being peculiar and temperamental.
You can see how jyeshtha obtains its success and fame through being completely self-directed.
What am I going to tell McGee? That you're not going to listen? He ain't used to people not listening to him.
What are you doing, Mike?
Jyeshta's energy is combative, stubborn, and self-focused. Such a force of self-fixation and development then naturally attracts unstable people towards it to try to encroach on its personal space through stepping themselves into its well-formed identity.
You stay at Dickie's house, eat Dickie's food, wear his clothes.
Do you ever get weirded out or freaked out when people get plastic surgery to look like you?
From what I see online, I always see people say I got
All right.
100K in surgery to look like Kim K.
I think that people should also be themselves and be an individual, but I'm flattered.
On a larger scale, being in the public eye, you cause those who perceive you to move and react and respond in a range of more uncontrolled, one-sided, and parasocial ways. If you bend to their movements or dim your light in response to them, you have allowed them to cause a response in you. Therefore, in the game of attention tug-of-war, you have lost your footing. For success, you remain stable, unmoved, and fixated on yourself, and instead pull on and interest everyone else. Jyeshtha tends to do this to the most extreme and natural extent, which grants and elevates their fame. They seem more unchanged and unmoved by the criticisms and massive levels of hate, which cause others to lose mental stability, hide, or conform to collective demands.
I'm a young woman with so much gumption. I'm like that too. I don't give a rat's ass what people think. They're probably scared of you.
Jyeshtha's lack of reaction to pressures, seeming almost deaf to collective shaming or expectations, infuriates the masses who want nothing more than to force the public figure under their will. In fact, Jyeshthas are powerful and skillful energy harvesters, pulling in energy and channeling it into their own growing individuality. Their desire for fame or infamy comes from this impulse.
Suzanne would do anything to be famous.
You're not anybody in America unless you're on TV.
Get a tape of this because I hope you do so you can see me when I'm famous and older and remember me of this beautiful little girl.
She calculated from the beginning, how do I become famous?
Jyeshtas like Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian baffle others by popularizing the concept of being famous just for being famous, both with the skill of knowing how to attract and hold on to media attention without possessing traditional, notable talents.
Kim learned everything from Paris.
Fully embracing and manipulating the attention to their benefit, whether it's positive or negative, turning it into wealth and further visibility.
Do you think that Taylor Swift is the most famous person that has ever existed?
No, there's
I mean,
no.
Mickey Mouse and Jesus are pretty famous.
You know what I'm saying? Who else do you think trumps real people that trump Taylor Swift?
Maybe Trump himself.
Maybe Trump himself.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan at the height of his prime was the most famous thing in the world. But let's check back with Taylor Swift in 20 years. Princess Diana?
This hits you need maybe actually.
Actually, that's a
Maybe,
pretty
you're right.
decent.
Princess Diana may actually be more famous than Taylor Swift.
That's a decent case.
Jyeshtas elevate their fame through the contention and extreme conflicted emotions that always surround them. Controversial Jyeshta natives like Elvis, Andrew Tate, Taylor Swift, and Donald Trump churn matching levels of positive and negative, polarized and extreme response. They conquer and dominate the media and public discussion for months, sometimes years at a time, through the ability to divide and split perceivers into states of hatred and disapproval or love and obsession.
And I just know I'm not supposed to be famous.
That makes me so sad.
I'm not supposed to be famous.
I'm not either, for sure.
Yeah.
I am. I think
I
you
know
are.
Because you can handle it.
They're particularly notable for tending to gain as many or more haters than supporters, and constantly clashing these opposing groups together to remain ever in people's minds, becoming the gravitational center of endless battles amongst those perceiving them.
I don't think that I can just become the most Googled man on the planet, become monumentally successful, and make hundreds of millions of dollars, and nothing bad's going to come from it. I think that would be hubris.
Through this constant discord, they generate levels of fame or wealth which often eclipse those attempting to remain non-controversial and well-liked.
Hashtag Taylor Swift is over party was the #1 trend on Twitter worldwide. Do you know how many people have to be tweeting that they hate you for that to happen?
Jyeshta's willingness to churn negative or tumultuous, intense emotions in others sometimes takes the psychological form of being combative, mean, and critical, feeling fueled and gaining things by stirring discord and creating and facing negative emotions in others.
We're talking about, welcome to the Billboard Recovery
Yeah, I went into therapy after that episode. I'm not even being kidding. I feel like most guests, 99% of guests, they're more gracious. You know, they won't take the opportunity if they see you like are uncomfortable or you goofed up or maybe you said like when he sees an opening, he like attacks.
Yeah, he's the center of attention a lot, I think, and so it's he might not be able to really notice how other people are feeling or reacting.
He will expose any chinks in your armor.
This potential aspect to their character is why jyeshtas are common, controversial, harsh, blunt judges.
You were at that party, right?
No, it was called the Icon Party, but there were no icons there.
On competitive TV shows like American Idol.
I don't mean to be unkind, but you have one of the worst singing voices possibly in Miami.
America's Next Top Model.
Why is that pink thing still in your head? Do you think that's fashion and attractive? Because it's not. I wouldn't wipe your car with it.
Why don't you let him knock? He's not knocking you for a change. I mean, how stupid can you be?
Really? And I don't play the game, and I say what I think. You know that.
Right.
And I must have insulted everybody at one point.
Right.
The Apprentice and many more.
And he comes walking up with his big stupid finger. She was sitting down, and he goes, "I like that." And he pointed right at her scar, and she was like mortified.
One more question for you. Hickey or is it going to bruise you? That's a birthmark.
And that's just how he would. You just started off balance with him. Yeah. And then he just kept pushing your shoulder verbally. Every time you'd start to regain your footing, he would find something else, and he would just trash you for an hour.
And then you loved him.
Yeah. No, some nights you hated him. You literally wanted to kill him.
I'm a vegan. I won't eat anything with eyes. That's why your husband left you.
All of that being said, moving on to the next topic, one thing that must be understood is that natives of this nakshatra are not only threatened by the danger of envy directed towards them.
I've had that thing all of my life where people are bending to envy.
You are so jealous. You are just so jealous that you cannot get a Bentley and you're trying to ruin my moment for me.
Are you joking?
So get away, you jealous psycho bitch.
Jyeshta's deep connections to the evil eye are all-encompassing. It actually fails if it does not overcome its own inner envy and jealousy towards others first, and only then is challenged with overcoming the jealousy of others. So either way, their potential downfall comes from envy, or their potential extreme rise comes through overcoming and transmuting inner and then outer envy. Failure from inner envy is actually more common, as it comes from a lack of self-control and development, whereas the second challenge comes after achieving a level of success and individuality. To even encounter Jyeshta's second test, one must be a more developed and evolved example of this nakshatra. They must have been able to rein in the high levels of inner envy and intense desire this nakshatra harbors.
Jennifer said I was too intense. Meaning what exactly?
And channel it into levels of self-development that those with less natural desire can't motivate themselves to obtain. Jyeshtha is considered dry, empty, and called angry and mentally irritated in Jataka Parijata.
This is all a lie. I want a Ferrari. And my friends were like, don't know. That's why I have Ferrari friends. Well, no, that's why I have Ferraris and they don't. That's why I now have 33 Ferraris. Because I was envious. I was envious of this man. Most people don't care.
But you turned envy into learning how to figure it out.
Well, I turned envy into anger, and anger is power.
Without jealousy, without enviness, where would I be? That's everything that inspired me to be who I wanted to be.
While Indra faced jealousy from others, it's notable that experiencing envy was also a major part of his personality. I quote, as evident from revealed scriptures, Indra was several times envious of the skills or spiritual sacrifices of many persons.
Destroying people because I thought he was better than me. I'm gonna fucking destroy you, motherfucker.
For fear that someone else may occupy his seat.
If you see your opponent has 3 rocks and you only have 2, you want 4. Otherwise you're gonna lose.
I quote, envy is more or less than desire. It begins with the almost frantic sense of emptiness inside oneself, as if the pump of one's heart were sucking on air. Because Jyeshta knows intuitively that it's in an incarnation where it must gather achievements and succeed, because this challenge is Jyeshta's lot, they compulsively focus on the idea of achievement to such a level that they either become very successful.
I let her do the evening weather report, which she was fine at, although with all the preparation she put into it, you'd think she was covering D-Day.
Or they become mentally unstable through obsessing over the achievements of someone else.
When I was young, I had such a vision of myself. I dreamt I'd be someone to be reckoned with, you know, in the world.
And never transmuting it into self-directed action.
But one learns one scale.
It oscillates on these extremes due to its cosmic purpose as contention, its need to prove itself and rise above others, scaling to the top of the material plane.
Her ethos towards life is about moments and memories. My ethos towards life is about conquest. And those are very, very different things. I completely understand that she enjoys things which are not congruent with trying to conquer Earth.
Therefore, when jyeshtha is not succeeding or attracting attention, they are prone to falling into wishful delusions about the evil eye towards them.
You honestly think Paige is your friend? Is that so hard to believe? That for once someone cool likes me? She's just using you, Manny. No, you're just jealous. I know you're jealous. Get over it. I'm just concerned. Because it sounds more like you're jealous. I mean, oh, Leander, don't make your girlfriend Paige even more jealous of me. Shut up! You're just jealous.
Or they start casting it aggressively on others.
But what we have people doing now, because they don't believe in themselves, when they feel envious, because they want to level the playing field, which is all envy is. Instead of trying to elevate themselves, they try and drag others down.
Jyeshtha is a challenging nakshatra because it's the essence of challenge itself. It is the strongest signification of being on a battlefield in life, of always needing to apply effort and work on individuation instead of being overcome by the collective or sucked back in and obscured by it. So the success of jyesthas is often marked by volatility, falls and rises, enemies and challenges due to the cosmic position of this nakshatra. The psychosexual obsession here that surrounds jyeshtha, whether they harbor it or experience it from another person, is always a bad sign of potentially being energetically assimilated into another person, the inverse of the individuation that needs to occur here. It was said that, I quote, when Alakshmi, also called Jyeshtha, entered a household, she brought jealousy and malice in her trail. Jyeshtha has more envy than average, but successful and distinguished Jyeshthas channel all that agitation competitively into their own growth, becoming unshakable, confident, and intensely self-focused, holding love and obsession about their own skills, achievements, and potential.
Everyone feels stupid. Who cares? You feel stupid? Yeah, I did. And then I just chose not to feel stupid. 90% of life is confidence.
They use the constant fuel of challengers or rivals to push themselves and affirm their own individuality further. Their powerful self-obsession, which often borders on isolating egocentrism.
I had never seen anyone as sure of themselves as her. Because of that, I didn't really trust her.
You are not on my level, Nicole. You never will be on my level. Do not compare yourself to me.
Who are you consulting with consistently so that you're ready on day one?
I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain.
I know words. I have the best words.
Nobody knows the system better than me.
Top G is an individual who is capable in all realms. When you are top G, you are dangerous at everything.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
You know more about drones than anybody.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
I know more about courts than any human being on earth.
I think nobody knows more about campaign finance than I do.
There's no one that can match me. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been.
Built a little differently, I guess, because I have had people come up to me and say, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it?
That's why I'm top G. It doesn't matter what the competition is. As soon as they say my name, you're going to be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm
my unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor.
And their strong central gravity then inevitably commands obsession from the weak-minded around them as well.
And would you stop taking pictures of yourself? Your sister's going to jail.
And in this way, they center themselves in a whirlwind of fixation. However, the unevolved jyeshtha never does this, but instead their impulse fully externalizes. They are consumed by envy without the ability to self-direct it with discipline, and they fully become the obsessor.
She was obsessed with me.
She didn't want you within 500 yards of her by law. You call that a friendship?
Drowned in unfulfilled desire, stepping off that throne of self, losing their secure footing, they pour all of their sacred, intense, unmatched power of focus onto another person.
Can I have my wife back, please?
I don't like your tone.
Why is she always here? What kind of fucking spell has she cast on you?
Becoming obsessed, speaking of them constantly, trying to find their secrets, copying or insulting them, and so on. Jyeshtha's path to mediocrity and ruin is here, when they pour their focus into trying trying to tear someone else down instead of channeling their agitated competitiveness into self-perfection.
She's been stalking my socials lately, too. She's just lonely and obsessed with us. There's two kinds of women. Those who know it's their responsibility to lift others up, and those who hate the ones they'll never get to be.
Jyeshtha, as the failing obsessor, is powerfully shown in Notes on a Scandal, starring Jyeshta Moon Judi Dench as the lonely, disturbed, obsessive friend.
People like Sheba think they know what it is to be lonely, but of the drip of long haul, no end in sight solitude, they know nothing.
Completely alone!
Judy's character travels through the same steps that you saw previously in the flipped obsessor role. She fixates on another same-sex individual, befriends her but secretly harbors romantic and sexual intentions for their relationship.
She's a good girl.
I think that's enough.
No, close your eyes.
No, I really think that's enough, Barbara.
And eventually separates her friend from her husband, children, and job in an attempt to possess her completely.
She has nowhere to turn but trusty old Bob.
Jyeshtha's son, Kenneth Branagh, took on the role of Iago in Othello, a play whose major theme is jealousy between two same-sex friends. Iago's words are where the phrase green-eyed monster came from.
Oh, beware, my lord of jealousy. 'Tis the green-eyed monster that doth mock the meat it feeds on.
Iago is ruined in the work by his jealousy towards Othello as well as Cassio due to things like their status, wealth, wives, or looks. I quote, Iago makes a choice to channel all of his creative energy into the destruction of this human being, a decision that ultimately leads to the ruin of both Othello and himself.
I think the correct mental model for envy is inspiration, and the incorrect mental model for envy is going to be attempting to attack someone's character.
Interestingly, while Iago's motivations are debated, psychologist Ernest Jones suggested that Iago may have been driven by repressed sexual desire for Othello, which has been an influential interpretation in subsequent performances of the role. Jyeshthas also play obsessed friends who one by one kill their friends' loved ones, and eventually often kill the friend as well in Mother's Instinct, Harry, He's Here to Help, and Unfriend.
She just attached herself to me.
What the hell are you doing? You want to kill my son? Stop! You do! You want revenge?
There is a famous related situation of intense fixation between Jyeshta Moon Charles Dickens and Hans Christian Andersen, who had Jyeshtha ascendant. Andersen was obsessed with the very successful and acclaimed Dickens, sending him hundreds of fan letters over 9 years.
I think at best you don't encourage him.
He is a devoted reader and Dickens enthusiast.
Letters from Mr.
I will not discourage someone who exhibits such exceedingly good taste.
6:57.
And on one occasion showing up at his house and staying there for 5 weeks, which Dickens found unbearable. There are notorious tales from this stay, such as the time Dickens held his arm out to a woman and Andersen grabbed it instead and walked with Dickens arm in arm.
You're wearing my bridal gown.
Yes. Imagine being married to the great Charles Dickens, wearing this dress, everyone watching. Really fell in love the day I first set eyes on you. May I?
What are you doing?
You may have noticed that the obsessor and obsessee and Chloe are both Jyeshthas.
This was so real, and you know that. Last night I touched you and
How do I get through to you? This business transaction, which is what this was, is over.
And it's similar in I Heart Huckabees, where Jyeshta Moon Jason Schwartzman's character
The conflict with Brad Stan seems very important.
has a deep preoccupation stemming from feelings of jealousy, rivalry, and frustration, with Jude Law's character, the successful businessman Brad.
You go with Miss Huckabees?
She was doing some print work for us.
Albert, forget Brad. Albert, come back to me. Where are you?
Diving into his mind, the existential detectives find it full of thoughts of Brad, which Albert can't escape.
Now put someone you respect in the tree.
Hey, Dickweed! Still Brad Stan. Dickweed!
Now she's gonna send you rays of security and complete acceptance.
He chopped her head off!
His jealousy regarding Brad's charisma, reputation, and girlfriend drives him into envy-fueled actions to attempt to ruin Brad's life.
Brad, I torched your jet skis.
And my house?
No, just your jet skis. It's spread to the house. I'm sorry.
Investigating both characters, the detectives discover shared ground between the seemingly opposite men.
Who is that? You or me?
Both jyeshtas were deeply invested in the idea of fame and recognition in different ways.
I eat tofu tuna.
With the mayo, and you liked it.
I used to run the open spaces college.
She knew my name. See?
So what if she knew your name?
I was only joking, man. Come on. Yeah, okay. I'm caught up in that shit.
So am I. That's how I butt into you.
With Brad further along in outer achievement, causing agitation in Albert.
You weren't finding a still of Bob Dylan. You were planting photos of yourself in the archive.
What are you getting at?
Why would you do something like that? To be noticed? Maybe urgently?
Overall, these situations in which both sides have jyeshtha help to show how successful, self-focused jyeshtas are capable of stirring such reactions in others, yet always needing to carefully harness their obsession and apply it to themselves and limit their tendency to fixate on others, while unsuccessful ones completely fall into the dangers of fixation on another person.
I thought we were friends.
As a negative expression of the same competitive ambitiousness. So jyeshtha is the mechanism of using envy as a force to gain or to lose. In the many films in which jyeshtha was fixated on, no single nakshatra or planet type completely dominated the role of obsessor. For more clarity, this is why jyeshtha is such a fame-indicating nakshatra, because it can pull on any type of person, given that the perceiver does not have a strong sense of individuality.
Is it because you're just really insecure? I am not insecure, needy.
Different nakshatras can take on obsessor roles for different reasons based on the film's more intricate context, something that I'd explore in their respective nakshatra videos. However, in review, it's key to note that the competitiveness of jyeshtha also means it has the strong capacity to be an obsessor instead. It was indeed a most common nakshatra when I tallied such obsessed friend roles, just as it was most common as obsessee. I also want to explore a special dynamic that arose often with jyeshtha's mythological opposite, always considered a binary with it, Rohini, associated with Alakshmi's sister, Lakshmi. The reality of Lakshmi and Alakshmi is that they are deeply inseparable and must both be propitiated and acknowledged, which different cultures have done in different ways.
Tu me détestes. Ce que je déteste, c'est quand on n'est pas ensemble.
While jyeshtha represents the eldest, a being in a state of depletion of juices and loneliness, Rohini represents the youngest, a being in a state of plumpness. Jyeshtha's power comes from dividing itself from others and dividing others.
It is a spiral in which you will perpetually fail in comparison to Andrew Tate for the rest of your fucking human years. And when you die, if by some freak accident our graves end up next to each other, everyone's gonna read my headstone and ignore yours. Because you're fucking average. That's how the world works. It's all about comparison.
Stirring discord, hatred, and dispute, Rohini's power comes in union and in uniting others. This concept of the eldest and youngest is often depicted in art as Rohini's dominating roles as the younger, the mistress, invading the union of a couple, with a cosmic underlying motivation to join a union. In two jyeshtha-themed works, Birth and American Horror Story, a Rohini mistress is the obsessor fixating on the jyeshtha wife. However, while jyeshtha can turn their unmatched fixation onto any nakshatra and vice versa, it's undeniable that Rohini evokes some of the strangest reactions in jyeshtha natives. Rohini natives are shown to pull on jyeshtas with some level of awareness.
So what's your diagnosis? Who is this? What do you say to Mom and Pop?
Being subtle antagonizers who can seem to be a bad influence on others in general.
Tell me, Dr. Val, what's your diagnosis?
Lâche-la, tonton. Va chier.
Due to their deep connection to the amoral force of passion, that of Brahma, where one is a hedonist who allows their desires to lead them.
Tu vas pas te dégonfler, hein?
Anyway, sexuality is fun, man. If you're gonna exist, why not enjoy it?
In various films, Rohinis are shown as a troublemaker leader.
Only about $10.
Of a group of women or a single woman, guiding them into some form of hedonism.
Where are we going? Shopping? I don't have any money. We get a 5-finger discount.
C'est ton premier creep? Oui.
You beat up a teacher, you got a tattoo, you stood me up. You hit your head or something lately? What's the deal?
You girls fell in with a bad element.
I hope you've learned from it.
While Jyeshtha is a ruler or king, Rohini is the nakshatra said to cause the Ayurvedic disease of royal consumption.
Ce soir, qui vont inspirer la sève de sa victime.
Raja Yakshma, when the king is drained completely of his rasa or juice through the feminine force, and thus his kingdom also withers and fails as Rohini fully absorbs the light, which ties to Rohini's role as a hedonistic, bad influence. So it's in interactions with Rohini where Jyeshtha's potentially ruinous side most often comes out. The dynamic is still there where the obsession largely goes both ways, but with the Rohini, the likelihood of Jyeshtha losing its self-focus and falling out of balance into returned or even more intense fixation and dissolving into the Rohini energy is the strongest.
Where's Lisa?
Where's Lisa?
Where the fuck is Lisa?
What's the matter? Can't hack it without her?
Jyeshtha must harness and direct all of its power to conquer, while Rohini is the challenge of the equal but opposite force, the inwardly abundant being of reward who tempts Jyeshtha to dissolve into it. This is why, while many Jyeshtha obsession films are one-sided,
I really think you need to focus a little more on you and a little less on me.
in examples like Girl Interrupted and Breathe, films about intense female friendships in which both a Rohini and Jyeshtha are present, the fixation goes both ways, but they each express it differently. The Jyeshtha's obsession tends to express as more focused, controlled, and concentrated.
I had a present for you. I worked on it for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? You barely known me for 2 weeks.
Lisa's eyes, once so magnetic, now just look empty.
That is mine.
Sticky gold stars and a strand of my hair and a receipt from Pizza.
Don't you know it's rude to read a person's diary? It's private!
While the Rohini's feels more like uninhibited, constant taunting. In both the aforementioned films, the Rohini tells her Jyeshtha friend,
And I played the fucking villain, just like you wanted.
Why would I want that?
Tu me donnes le mauvais rôle, c'est insupportable.
which ties to how Jyeshtha knows it's failing, facing Raja Yakshma, when it's caught up discharging constantly into Rohini instead of focusing on success and self-development.
Because it makes you the good guy, sweetie.
It's most often Rohini who can reverse Jyeshtha's power of self-focus
Tu me fais pas une petite crise de jalousie? Huh?
and lead the Jyeshtha into this dire destabilization. In Jataka Parajata, Rohini is described as having knowledge of people's weaknesses.
You know, there are too many buttons in the world. Just too many buttons, and there's way too many just begging to be pressed.
I just begging to be pressed.
One way this comes across in films is also Rohinis playing witches who change their form to become the perfect succubi-like magnetic object of the perceiver's desire. A further trope in Rohini's ideal created partner, Stepford wife, web of connections. So caught up in the pain of this, knowing its own path is to generate obsession, but it's instead falling under preoccupation with another person, the Jyeshtha attempts to fully villainize the Rohini for the magnetic pull that forces the Jyeshtha into energetic submission.
I'm playing the villain, baby. Just like you want.
Rohini's behavior here stems not from envy due to its abundant energetic condition, but rather through its enjoyment of constant exchange, getting reactions, emotional or sexual, teasing and playing with another person, which, like the Spectre Garden of Ignorance mindset that I've explored before, entangles their target into the discharge that keeps them from self-development.
Here you are in so-called recovery playing Betty Crocker cut up like a goddamn Virginia ham.
Just stop it, okay?
Continuez. Vous êtes un homme, oui ou non?
And pulls them into fusion and merging instead of individuation. Indra is described as having trouble with his passions of needing to develop self-control to maintain his position, to be senior and respected. Therefore, interactions with Rohini, prodding at one's weak points, sensually draining one's life force, become inherently more dangerous and consequential on an inner level for Jyesthas than other dynamics. This is because a major part of the king's, the ruler's, ultimate test is how to handle Rohini, as Lakshmi is said to grant one the right to rule. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The visual ebook version of this video is now available on my site. And tomorrow on Patreon, I'll be posting the full graphs and analysis of that massive fame survey that I mentioned. It's thanks to my patrons that I was able to make this video. They support all the free content that I publish, so please check out my Patreon if you enjoy my content. Through doing so, you also gain access to a ton of exclusive content, including a 20-minute video that I did as an extra for the last video, and you can also there now now join my community group chat. I also now have a link in the description box that supports my channel to my recommended Jyotish app, where you can collect and run statistics on your own group of charts, access thousands of celebrity charts. A lot of people also just ask me in general a chart calculator that I recommend, and this app uses the same measurements that I use for all of my research. A special thanks, as always, to my Rivalry level patrons who are listed on the screen now, and so much love to my Abhijit level patrons, Ashley De La Cruz, Maddie DRX, Ray, Samia Hogan, Teresa Green, Crystal Perales, Eric Linden, Jazz, Nikki E, TTHP, William Rivera, Murti, Agnieszka Monica, Aaron Shade, Anna R, Cozy, Fantastic Mrs. Fox, Nexus, Ashley Rose, Haya, Michael Irwin, Maya, Joanne Schultz, Emily Moon, Luna, October Ariana, Alex Durin, Carl Wilden, Sapphira Glamad, SS Phoenix, Andre, KM Wyland, Natalia Warmley, Jake Settlemeyer, JJJJ, Calvin Sheffield Jr., Yen, Eric Goodrick, Captain Lockjaw, Diego Marquez, Tai Lakshmi, Kayla Thoy, Hannah Prasad, Sam, T. Cheatham, Alicia, Kiera Jones, Monica Barrows, Stephanie, Bella, Paulette Paul, and Rochelle A. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
I know why you're having such a hard time with me and Alyssa, and it's something that's been obvious forever, and I guess I just didn't acknowledge it. You're in love with me. You're attracted to me. And that would explain your jealousy of Alyssa.
Oh, I gotta get going. I gotta catch the last few minutes of Little House.
It's something you're gonna have to deal with, Bank.
He's yours again.